Yes, and we are live now. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Joining us on the different platforms on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. You're all very welcome to today's session. As usual, we will be uh, talking about a particular topic today, as we usually do on Saturdays, and we usually leave Sundays for the general Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can always drop them in the chat, and if they're not treated today, they'll be carried over to tomorrow's session. So as usual, if you're joining us, you are very welcome. Just drop your name and where you are joining us from in the chat so that we can get to know you better and get to understand who and who are in our audience. For those that may not know me yet, my name is Onyebuchi. I was a Commonwealth Scholar at the University of Leeds. I studied transport planning and engineering, an MSc in transport planning and engineering. And yeah, that was in 22. So yeah, finished and currently working as a transport planner. Yeah. So today we have two speakers with us. We have Ginika and we have Kangwa, and they will also be helping us to drive the conversation on the Commonwealth scholarships. Today's session is going to be more about how to prepare for the Commonwealth scholarship application. We all know that the Commonwealth scholarship application comes at the end of the year. In the last 3 months of the year, that's usually when the scholarship window is opened. And but we also know that the deciding factor for many people have always been to start their scholarship journey early, start their preparations on time, start bringing things together. And we're going to be talking about some of the things you can do to enrich your application or to and improve your profile ahead of the application window coming towards the end of the year. So in other words, today's session is basically going to be in one sentence what you should be doing now if you intend to apply later. So you don't need to wait later to start preparing. Your preparation should start now. So I'm going to allow our speakers to introduce themselves, and we get to know them, and then we'll drive the discussion from there. Meanwhile, I'll be looking into the comment sections, waiting to know who our audience is. So don't feel shy to drop your name and your location in the chat. Just your name and your country is fine, so that we know who and who we have, who we are discussing with. Ginika, do you want to go first with the introductions?
Okay, thank you very much, Onyebuchi. Hi, guys. Good evening from Nigeria. My name is Ginika Okoroafor. I studied at Heriot-Watt University in 2020. I graduated in 2020. I was fully funded by the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I studied renewable energy development and currently working in energy and environment sector here in Nigeria. The Commonwealth was a very big milestone for me, and I'm so happy to share experience and try as much as possible to encourage the ladies, the young women, because we want to have more young women getting access into international education and getting to add value to our dear country, Nigeria. So welcome on board, and this promises to be very educative and insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginika, for that short profile. It's good to hear that you're specializing in that area, and
Yeah.
also good for the encouragement to the women coming on this week when we are just celebrating International Women's Day. So it's good to have you give that encouragement to people to come in, get access to this education, get access to the opportunities that we have, and also break barriers. So thank you so much. Kangwa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Thank you, Buchi. Uh, I'm Kangwa. I'm from Zambia. So I'm a current PhD Commonwealth scholar. So I've been on Commonwealth since 2020, although I think we started later on in 2021. So I'm almost at the final stage of my PhD. I'm at the University of Newcastle. I'm studying, my PhD is in translational clinical research, specializing in breast cancer imaging. So yeah, let's have a discussion. So I'll try and bring in the aspect of the processes from a PhD CSC application aspect, and we'll see how the discussion will go. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to know. It's good to know that we have past and present scholars in our midst, and also we have people from the shared and also from the PhD. I know that people sometimes confuse the different Commonwealth scholarships. They don't know that there are different categories, and we'll talk more about the different Commonwealth scholarships. I think there are about 6 of them. I think people mostly know 1 or 2, but there are about 6 of them, and each scholarship is targeted at a different group of people, and we will try to demystify or clarify those things. I just want to say, I saw that Ejiro dropped a comment for us that she's running some errands, so she's on her way home, so she would join in later. So Ejiro, thank you for that. It's always good to have you on the screen with us, so we'll be waiting for you to join us here. Yeah, we also have some people. We have Be Goodness from Nigeria, and we have Ilya from Uganda, and we have Sola from Nigeria as well. And we have Ejiro greeting our audience on LinkedIn. As always, she always makes our time to greet our audience on LinkedIn. So if you're joining us, please just make a comment in the chat so that we know you, know where you're joining us from. It's always good to know people and where they are joining from, because we understand that different people at different locations means that you are attending this program from a different time zone. And it always helps us to understand exactly how many people we are reaching, and if the time zone is a barrier for some people. We also like to know so that we can see how to fit our programs around things like that. But nonetheless, the recording of all these sessions are always available on YouTube. So you can always go back to YouTube to watch the recordings if you're not able to join the live session. But we always like you to be on the live session so that we can take your questions as they come in. And if you have follow-up questions when your questions are being answered, we can always take it from there. Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, today's session is about the Commonwealth scholarship application process. And the 3 of us here are Commonwealth scholars, past or present. They always say you're a scholar for life. So whether past or present, we're all the Commonwealth scholars. And we'll be trying to talk about how the application process goes. Probably we'll be sharing some of our experiences of how things we did to prepare, things that we think made a difference in our own applications, things that helped us to be successful, mistakes that we made along the way as well. And probably you can learn from our mistakes and get a better experience from it. I'm sure that you guys would agree with me that during our own application processes, information sessions like this were not very common. They were not very widespread. A lot of people didn't know things like this were happening. I don't think things like this were actually happening that much. But it's good that we now have platforms like this that are trying to help people to reach out to these opportunities, because even apart from the Commonwealth Scholarship, there are a lot of opportunities out there which a lot of people do not know about. And we always believe that education is a booster and a leveler. So when you get a certain degree of education, you get to a certain level, it boosts you to a certain level, even to a place where you think you might not have been able to be on your own. But by sheer value of the quality of education that you get, and also other benefits that come with scholarships like this, including the network and the rest of it, you propel to your goals faster. So it's one of the reasons why we're always bringing these sessions to you, to the audience, so that we can always have a very rich discussion. And I hope that you walk away from here feeling more informed than before you joined the conversation. So yeah, so I'll be looking into the comment section for any questions that might be dropping while the session is going. But we'll start off the discussion with a brief introduction to the scholarship. So we're going to do it like this. I'm going to provide a very brief overview of the Commonwealth scholarships. Then the other speakers are going to contribute to that. And then we'll probably go around taking different aspects of the discussion. I'll be prompting us with some questions of some areas or things that we want to talk about, but always feel free to jump in. Yeah, so that's how today's discussion is going to go. Yeah, I can say we have Fumi with us, who is our sign language interpreter. She's always here to make sure that we have a broader reach, especially to our audience who are deaf friends have who might not be able to follow the discussion. So she's always here to provide that interpretation for them. So Fumi, is always glad. It's always good to have you with us. Thank you for always being here, and thank you for always being out to help our friends. Yeah. So for today's discussion, I want to talk a little bit about the Commonwealth Scholarship. First of all, the Commonwealth Scholarship is a UK-based scholarship. It's a scholarship that avails you to study in the United Kingdom for a master, either a master's or a PhD, depending on the category of scholarship that you go for. It's funded through the FCDO, which is a UK government body that comes to pick scholars from Commonwealth countries. So if you know the Commonwealth group of countries, those are the people eligible to apply for these scholarships. And it's a fully funded scholarship, so it takes care of all the expenses straight from the visa application process to your flight into the UK. You get your allowances while you stay in the UK. You get a few other allowances for research and other things, and it also covers your flight back to your country. And like I always tell people, is a developmental impact based scholarship. So the idea behind the scholarship is that you come, get the education you need, and use that education to have developmental impact in the society, especially in your home country. So those are the aims of the scholarship itself. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, the scholarship is usually the application process usually starts between October, November, and December, depending on which of the scholarships. They don't all open together. So you have the Commonwealth Masters, you have the Commonwealth Shared, you have the Commonwealth PhD, you have the split site, you have I think the fifth one is there's one for disabled people with disabilities as well. I think those are. Is there one I'm missing? Do you guys remember anyone I'm missing?
Yes, the Queen Elizabeth one that has that you can do online.
Okay, yes.
There's also a you've mentioned distance.
Distance. Yeah, that's the distance learning one. Yeah, distance. There's split site and there's distance learning. Yeah.
Yes,
I always confuse the two sometimes. So that yeah, there's split site and there's distance learning. Yeah. So I know the shared and the masters are both targeted at masters programs.
Yeah.
The PhD obviously is for PhD programs. Then the split site is usually for PhD programs where you do part of the research in your home country and you do part of the research in the UK. So that one requires you to have a link between your home university in your country and the university in the UK, and you split the research across the two. Then the distance learning is the one that happens with you fully in your country, but you have some visits to the UK to attend some workshops or some seminars, but it's fully based in your country. But all of them are fully funded programs. Yeah. And during the application cycle, they do not open the application for all of them at the same time. It's usually one opens and closes, then the next one opens and closes. And so that's why it usually takes about 2 to 3 months for all the scholarship applications to go. And usually it takes about 7, 8, 9 months for the whole process to be completed from the day you submit your application all the way to the finalization of the awarding system. So yeah, so it's a very long process. So people that applied last October, November, their own applications are still being processed up till now, March, and probably in the coming months or in the coming weeks, they'll begin to get feedback from the Commonwealth Scholarships Commission as to those who might have been nominated and those who might be placed on reserve, and then to also provide other additional documents to complete the process. Yeah, so that's the way it goes. So it's it's a very long process, and you need to take your time to prepare, because when the application window opens, you usually get about a month to submit everything, all the documents, all the information, all the essays, usually all come in within that 1 month 1 month, about a month window, and then it's gone. And then you just wait, and that waiting period can always be very, very exciting. And then, you just hope that through the whole long, rigorous review process, you finally scale through and get to the stage where they're asking you to provide references and unconditional offers and things like that. Yeah, so that's like a brief summary of how the application process goes. So today we're going to be basically talking about things that potential candidates or potential applicants should be doing now to prepare. What are the kind of things that you should be doing now to prepare? So I think the first point of the discussion would be, you already know the dates when the application are coming. So we're going to talk about what are the necessary documents, what are the necessary things that make a complete application, so that you can start preparing those from now. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to Kangwa, who's going to start off with what are the essentials of the application. What are the little details, what are the documents required, what does the process feel like, what are the things you need to put in place before the application window that you need to submit during the application window to scale through. So Kangwa, I'll let you go first, and we'll come back to Ginika. Okay. Then we can take the discussion from there.
Thanks, Bochi. I think I will break the descriptions of the requirements into two. So I'll talk about the descriptions for the requirements for MSc, then move into the PhD as well. So for the MSc, you need to have an offer letter, for a university, preferably one in the UK. And once you have that, you should have, of course, already statement of results, because there are people who are yet to finish, but usually they want you've already finished. So you have a statement of result or your certificate already in place. And you need also to have preferably your passport. Yeah, so those are the things you may need to have in place prior to even starting the application process. You have those in place. There are some, so you will be required to submit some essays along with the application. We won't go into details regarding the essays, but there are essays you have to write. So, but prior to getting to the essay part, you will be required to apply through your, there are different bodies. I think maybe for my case in Zambia, we have the former bursaries, the government body. So through the Ministry of Education, you apply through them, and usually they want you to have these documents I've mentioned in place. And apart from this, you need to write a statement of purpose, highlighting why you've chosen this field you are looking into, and a CV, of course. You have a CV, of course, your CV, well-written CV, and a problem statement, or personal statement, a page or more. So more, we're talking about 300 to 500 words of that statement, and a CV between a page and 2 pages, not so bulky, it doesn't need to be so large. So you have those things in place, you have an offer letter, and you will send, of course, the cover letter to the relevant bodies. So in Zambia, we have the, what do they call it now? During my time, we used to call it bursaries. Yeah, it's called something else now. So you can apply through that body. There is another body which you can use. So there are certain agencies, usually for women, Faweza, that's far away. But in Zambia, we have the Faweza. We also have, you can also apply through the Canon Collins. That's if you're coming from Southern Africa in general. You apply directly to the Canon Collins scholarship body. They also process it for Zambia. There is, I'm not very certain on this, but I think before, University of Zambia used to handle the application process but you have to be an employee of the university. I'm not sure if they still do. So that's the process. So you apply through those, they'll shortlist you. So after shortlisting, then you can go and make the formal application to Commonwealth UK. And you will need now to submit the essays. So there are different criteria of essays. They'll ask you on different criteria. So you have to submit those essays as well. And the documents you have also used for the general application process. That's for the MSc. I'm not sure if I've left anything. I did my application for MSc quite some time back. Buchi,
Yeah,
Ginika.
you've nailed most of it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, you've nailed most of it.
Okay.
The only thing that I might add is you should have your referees in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't need to submit reference letters at the start.
No.
But I'm hearing that the process is changing now, and they're asking people to upload reference letters during the application. I think that was the situation this last year. There was
Last
an
year
option.
Yeah.
There was an option to upload reference letters, but
during
previously
application.
it used to be just upload the details of your referee,
Referee, then they'll
and then
send them an
later on
email. Yes.
they will tell them to upload the reference letters. But
Yes. Mhm.
as things are changing, we also have to adapt to the change. So I would say have your referees
Mhm.
ready. If they ask for a letter, have the
Mhm.
letter ready. If they ask for their details, also have their details ready. Yeah.
I think even for the shortlisting, you need to have some references as well, at least 2 references for the shortlisting before you even go to. So for the shortlisting, you also need to have references. You need to go with the references. Actually, you also and you go for interviews, and they will interview you and shortlist you. For PhD, there are a lot of similarities. I think where the differences are in apart from having an offer letter, or you do not necessarily need to have an offer letter from a university, but you need to have what is known as a supporting letter from your probable possible supervisor. So if you've got 3 possible supervisors, if you're looking at maybe 3, at least get one of them to give you a supporting letter. So this letter generally gives shows that your supervisor is willing to supervise you. So even before you get admission to the university or offer letter to a university, you need to have that letter. And usually the time frame is a little bit short. So you need to start working out all these things prior to starting your application. So the other thing you need to have is to have a proposal for PhD. You need to have a proposal, not a bulky one. More or less, I would say 2 pages is enough. So you can either do a personal statement, but that personal statement should be more biased towards a proposal format, not more, looking at what you're working on and all that. So they need to understand a little bit of what you're doing, what you want to do and that. So I would say have a proposal, have your letter of support from your supervisor. So once you have these and the other documents I've already mentioned, I think then you're good to go. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I think yeah, you've mentioned the subtle difference between the masters and the PhD. For the masters, you just need to get admission from the university, what they call an unconditional offer. For those who who don't know the difference between a conditional and unconditional offer. So a conditional offer is when a university says, we've looked at your application for admission, we like it, we're interested in having you, but you have this, and this outstanding. Can you please take care of this and that and this? And then we'll be able to offer you admission. That's what they call a conditional offer. When you've taken care of all those conditions, whatever they may be, maybe language requirements, or maybe you submitted a statement of result and then they want you to bring the actual certificate, or you have a reference outstanding, whatever the condition might be. Once you fulfill that condition, then they upgrade the offer to what they call an unconditional offer. Now, for the unconditional offer, I think the only type of conditional offer that the CSC, the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, accepts is if the condition is a financial condition. That is to say, if one of the conditions is that you pay a deposit to secure your place, because the Commonwealth scholarships are fully funded, the Commonwealth, the body will accept that offer as being unconditional because they will be the ones to pay the deposit if they select you. So they wouldn't take that as a condition. So any other condition that is not about paying money to the university, they will not accept as an unconditional offer. Yeah. Ginika, I know that we've said a lot, but I can see that you've been taking notes as we've been talking. So I know you have a lot of things that you want to let us know. So I'm going to allow the microphone to go to you now so that you can give us some of those juicy notes that you've been writing up.
Okay, thank you, Buchi. Yeah, I also realized that some universities in the UK actually waive English language requirement. For example, Heriot-Watt University waived that. If you already have any test score, it's nice to also keep it for the application, or you write the school and ask them if they will accept a West African examination certificate, or NECO in the case of Nigeria, or any of the national examinations apart from TOEFL or IELTS. So it's also something to also note while making your applications for admissions. And then I attended the PhD interview here in Abuja. I also did that of master's way back in 2017 or so. So there are other things that Commonwealth does not require, but the Federal Scholarship Board here also require that. So it's also good to note some of those things. If you're preparing for application, it's good to also note some of those things and then start putting them together. One of those is your research paper. For Commonwealth, I don't think it's compulsory that you must have published some papers for the masters. For PhD is also important, but here in Nigeria they will ask for it during the interview. They ask whether, if you don't have a published paper, they want to see any article. Have you made any contribution to the body of knowledge in your field? Have you published any article at all in any website or any outlet at all? So they want to see that. Secondly, they will ask for your contributions to community development. Do you have any community development project that you may have worked on, or awards, either academic awards or just any outstanding performance, maybe even if it's just the best singer award in your university, or any form of, they just want to see how active you are in your own sphere, in your community, in your school where you did your undergraduate studies. They want to see people who are really active. In Commonwealth, it's not about looking out for people who cannot afford to study in the UK. But I think Commonwealth is about looking for people who are making impact and who have that potential to make impact after their work. So they want people who are really busy. Yes. You don't just go for a second class and you think that is enough. They want to see how active you are in your community. So that's my little contribution to this.
Yeah, thank you, Ginika, for making that very important point. I think it's one of those things. People have different conceptions or misconceptions about scholarships. I think I've said this on one of our programs before. Some people think that scholarships just means they are looking for poor people to fund, but that's not it. That's not the case. Some people also think that scholarships means they are looking for people with the best results to fund. That's also not the case. The Commonwealth scholarship, I mean, there are some scholarships that are intentionally looking for indigent people to fund, people that cannot afford. That is their primary focus. And there are some scholarships that are looking for high academically performing students to funds, and that's their own focus. But for the Commonwealth Scholarship, it has always been about developmental impact. So they are more interested in someone that can impact and influence their society and their surroundings. So that's more of the things that they are looking out for. And that is why you write those 11 essays answering different types of questions from different points of view so that they can see how intentional you are about making a change in your society. And so you need to also be realistically making a change to also have a rich application. So if you're not taking action now, what guarantees the people reviewing your application that you're going to take action after the studies? So they need to see some form of responsibility on your own part. It mustn't be big. You mustn't be changing the world. You can be changing lives in your community. You can be making an impact on your street. You mustn't be making an impact across the whole country, but in your own small way, you must be showing an effort so that they don't understand that giving you that master's degree boost is going to also boost the amount of impact that you're going to make. Yeah. So I think while we were discussing, I also remember that there's an important point that I think we need to also talk about. So I just want to talk about the nominating agencies, because I understand that it is something that is confusing for some people. At the beginning we talked about the different types of Commonwealth scholarship, and the nomination process for each might slightly differ. So I'm just going to say that for Commonwealth Shared, which I was a beneficiary of, I think Ginika, you also a beneficiary of the Shared Scholarship. The nominating agency is the university in the UK. So what does a nominating agency mean? A nominating agency is simply someone who is going to tell the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, this person is a good candidate. That's what a nominating agency does. So a nominating agency is going to tell the Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, this person is a good candidate. Consider him, consider her. That is the way it works. So that you submitted an application does not mean that you're going to be considered, because if no nominating agency is pushing your name forward, then because of how competitive the scholarship is, your name might not get to the CSE desk. So you need a nominating agency. For Commonwealth Shared, nominating agency is the university in the UK, which means that you have to be nominated by the university. And usually it comes after you've submitted the Commonwealth application. Once you've committed the Commonwealth application on the website, the commission will send your application details to the university in the UK, because you've already indicated that you want to be nominated by this university. They have a list of universities and courses that they are willing to sponsor. So for the Shared, it's not all the universities and it's not all the courses in the UK. There's a specified list of courses and universities that they wish to sponsor. So you go to that list, you pick the ones you want, you apply through them, and then they send your application down to the university. The university screens everyone that applied to them, sends back names to the commission. Please consider these people for us, and then they finalize. For masters and PhD, is different. For masters and PhD, you're being nominated by an external body, usually the government of your country, but also there are other bodies apart from the government of your country that also nominate. So I remember Kangwa talked about FAWE, and FAWE is one of the major nominators, because FAWE is specifically for women. So sorry to the men in the audience, but FAWE is specifically for women. But there are also other agencies that nominate for different reasons, and every nominating agency has a reason for nominating. There are nominating agencies for people with disabilities. There are nominating agencies for people with leadership skills. There are nominating agencies for people that are high-performing professionals in their field. The list of nominating agencies is on the CSC website. You just have to go to the website and look at it. That's one of the things I think you should be looking at now. So apart from your government Ministry of Education, whatever name it's called in your country, Kangwa was saying bursaries, but they've changed the name in Zambia. So whatever name is called in your country, go and find out what their own requirements are. Every nominating agency has a different way of evaluating their candidates. Some will require you to submit an application to them. Some will require you to come for an interview, like the FSB in Nigeria will require you to come for an interview, and they will have their own list of requirements, different from the Commonwealth list of requirements. So you need to also note that you have to satisfy the requirements of the nominating agency, satisfy the requirements of the Commonwealth as well, and then you have a solid chance. So I know that some nominated agencies only nominate members. So if you're planning on being considered by a nominating agency, which requires membership, I think the time to become a member is now. So if Fawe is not going to nominate you unless you're a member, and you feel like you want Fawe to nominate you, and you understand the mission that Fawe is pursuing, it's better you go to Fawe's website and find out what they are doing. Ejiro just popped into the studio. Hi, Ejiro. Welcome.
Thank you. Please go on.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, so if you need to,
Hi. Good to see you,
Hi.
Ejiro.
Good to see you. Hi, Ginika. Hi, everyone. Okay.
yeah, welcome. Yeah. So, like I
Thank
was
you.
saying, so if your nominated agency requires you to be a member, I mean, you don't just be a member because you want them to nominate you, but also understand what they are doing. Because Fawe in itself, apart from being a nominating agency for Commonwealth, is a very wide network and is a very good community to belong to if you're a woman, especially in STEM. So you can sign up for membership, follow up other opportunities that they may also come with, and also do participate in those things. Those will also help you to also boost your profile and have things to talk about when you're also doing your application or when you go for interviews as well. Another important thing to talk about would be volunteering. So, because I know that there's an essay that specifically talks about your volunteering experience, people that do things not for profit, in quotes. So, you need to also look at going into volunteering opportunities this time, especially within the field that you're trying to influence or the field you're trying to work with. So, if and those helps you to gather some form of experience. Ginika talked about publications. You can volunteer as a research assistant to a researcher in your field. You're not being paid, but you're helping them to review research articles. And then you can also end up as a co-author. So that allows you to get some volunteering experience and as well also get a published paper to your name that you can also use to boost your profile. So these are some of those little tips that you can just start working with now. Yeah. So takeaway, go and study about the nominating agencies. We can't, I mean, we don't have enough time to talk about all the nominating agencies and all the intricacies of the nominating agencies at this point, but it's something that you really need, because by the time the application window is open, you won't have the time to start moving left, right, center, trying to satisfy all the requirements from all angles. It's a really Herculean task. So you need to try to start getting in touch with those things now, start understanding what the requirements are, how they nominate, what documents you need to have, what criteria you need to have fulfilled, etc. So you need to take those things into account now. Good. So moving on to the discussion. So we've talked about the general application process, things you need to know, documents you need to work with, the English language and the rest of it. So now we're going to talk about the essay content. Like I said, we're not going to discuss the essay in details. So we're going to talk about the essay content and things that you can start doing or things you can start marking down to form content of your essays. So first of all, as of the last application cycle, I need to say it like this because the application process can change. I don't work for CSC, so I don't know if they're going to take an essay off, add more essays in the next application cycle. But I know that as of the last application cycle, you have 11 essays to write. Sounds like a lot. It is a lot.
I didn't even count it. I didn't know you count. I didn't even count.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot. It's actually a lot. It's a lot of words. I think if you combine it together, you have over 3,000 words, or almost 4,000 words you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I always tell people it's kind of one big essay that they broke into different pieces. So don't let the number 11 scare you. It's just one big story that you're writing, but in different pieces. So you have the first part, which is the development impact part, which basically talks about your field of study, the problem you're trying to solve, how you think it can be solved, what type of solutions you're coming up with, how you feel this masters you're doing is going to be part of that solution. So just broadly speaking, what problem are you trying to solve? how are you going to be part of the solution? What are the kind of solutions you're looking out for? You write that in about four different essays. Then you move over to the part that's a little bit more personal. You ask you about your objectives, your study plan, your career goals, short term, long term career goals, aspirations. They ask you about your objectives during the award. So those ones come all together in one package. Then you also have the personal statements, and then they also ask you about your leadership and volunteering experience. So you can see it's a very rich application. They want to know problems, how you're solving the problems, what are your objectives, what career goals do you have for yourself. They want to know about your personal statement, how's your journey been so far, what do we know about you. Then you also tell them about the volunteering and leadership experience you've been handling in the past. Notice that they don't ask for work experience. So because that comes in your CV. So you submit your CV with all your work experience there. But now they just want to know, what are you doing? What do you plan to do? How is your career going to take off? I'm saying this because it means that you don't necessarily have to have formal work experience to apply. If you are fresh out of school student, but you've been doing other volunteer opportunities, you've been getting leadership opportunities through other non-professional means per se, you also stand a chance of applying for the scholarship. Good. Before I hand over the microphone to other speakers to also contribute, I also wanted to push this point that for the master's scholarship and for the PhD, you usually apply with 3 options. Yeah, I think we forgot to mention that. Usually apply with 3 options: first choice, second choice, and third choice. And then at the end of the process, you choose one. But for shared, it's not that way. For shared, you have, like I said, you have the list of courses and the schools that are sponsored, and you choose from the list. And the list, there's no restriction in the number of things you can choose from the list, so far as you have interest in what is on the list. So if you have interest in just one, you can make application for just one. If you have interest in 5, you can make application for the 5. So it's up to you to do that. So that's also some of the things you need to think about. So also have that in mind. So yeah, so based on the essays, like I've just given like a brief overview of the essays. So for the development impact, I would like Kangwa to talk about the development impact. What kind of things you need to be looking out for to fill in the details of development impact. Then we'll come back to Ginika. Ginika is going to talk to us more about the objectives and the career goals, or short-term and long-term career goals. And then we'll circle back to the personal statement and the volunteering experience later. So Kangwa.
Yeah. So interesting. So like Buchi has kept mentioning, the CSC scholarship is not just about academics and all other nitty-gritty. I think it kind of looks at the holistic aspect and wants to relate whatever you're doing to developmental impacts. So they want to see, do you have an understanding of how your work or your whatever you're applying for, your program, will impact your local community, how it will impact the national population, and how also its impact on the global stage. So from that aspect means that whenever you are writing these essays or whatever you're putting across, you need to have in mind what's the immediate impact. So the impact, first of all, on you, the person, but of course you don't start with that. So mention, first of all, your impact of your work on the local community, your local community. How is it going to impact changes? And usually they are looking at poverty reduction, those issues. So find a way to link your work to poverty reduction. So poverty reduction can have several streams. There's education, there's health. All these have a way of leading back to poverty reduction. Access to health, access to education, access to clean water and sanitation. So all these are the impacts you need to link your work to, right? Doesn't matter really. I remember one time being asked, like, okay, how do you link physics? I'm a physicist. So how do you link physics to these things? But it's, you need to see yourself as offering solutions to your immediate and to the national stage, not necessarily working in isolation. So whatever you are going to bring out should be something which others can benefit as well, right? So once you've done the essays, remember that again, Commonwealth also doesn't work in isolation. It works with other development agencies. And I think one of the main bodies right now leading development is the UN. And I think they are measuring development based on what is known as the, is it, what do they call those?
SDGs.
SDGs, yes. SDGs tells you that I wrote these essays sometimes back. So the SDGs. So whenever you are looking at your developmental impact, you need to link your work to the SDGs, right? So you find that all these things I've mentioned, let's say access to education, access to clean water, poverty reduction, they are all there. They are all part of. There are quite a number of what's this? The SDGs. So have a look at the SDGs. Start getting acquainted with what each of those. So even in your essays, you need to mention which particular SDG your work is actually aligned to. And I think for Commonwealth, it's even you have to choose a particular. I think your primary SDG, then there are secondary SDGs as well, which align with your work. So it means that they are generally pushing you to orient your application towards SDGs. So, but in a practical way. So you can pick a certain SDG to say, okay, my work lies under this SDG. There is developmental science and development and technology. So you can choose that, but link it also to the other facets of development. Poverty reduction, was access to health, access to education, access to technology, and all those things. So you bring everything together. Of course, you don't need to mention all the SDGs. Pick, at least for me, I look at it like, if you have a primary SDG, then you have 2 or 3 more SDGs which are falling under your primary SDG, and you are able to itemize those in your essay, then you're home and done. Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank
You
you,
haven't
Kangwa.
left out anything.
No, I think you actually hit the very important point, which is the SDGs, which we haven't mentioned throughout
Yeah.
this talk. And
Mhm.
yeah, as you rightly said, the SDG is a very important part of the application. I think
Mhm.
the form they ask you to choose the top 3
Yeah.
SDGs that are related to your work.
Mhm.
But apart from choosing that, you also need to reference them as you're writing the essays,
Yes.
especially the development impact.
Mhm.
And my advice is always to people is there are 17 SDGs, with very short summary headlines. Zero poverty, zero hunger.
Mhm.
You think you know what zero hunger is, but you need to go and read in between the lines of what is indicated under the SDG, because each SDG has targets and indicators within its portfolio, so you understand exactly. So the way it is there's a goal, we want to get this. Then they say this is the target, this is what we are aiming for, and then there are indicators. These are the things we are looking out for, how to achieve these things, to know that we are getting to this progress. So you need to go and understand all those and bring them together to form your application.
Yeah.
So those are, I think that's a very important point, because now you have enough time to actually go through the SDGs, understand exactly what they are saying,
Yeah.
identify the ones that are closely linked to whatever you want to achieve, and bring them into your application in the best possible way. Yeah. So Ginika, are you still with us? I think you are glitching at some point. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, our network here is not always very perfect. So I'll just try to contribute when it's still clear.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no problem. We understand the challenges. It's one of those things. It's why we need more scholars. We need
Yes.
scholars to come in and solve some of these problems, so that even access to internet is no longer a problem
Yeah.
for developing countries.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think Kangwa has talked about the development impact part. So I wanted you to just talk about the objectives, long-term, short-term career goals, part of the application, so that what people can be thinking about, what people can be thinking to include, what strategies you have for people to, get a stronger application across.
Okay, I will use mine as a reference point. I applied for renewable energy development. So my key objective was actually to support the fight against energy poverty in Nigeria. So I tried to tie my objective to the course outputs. What are the deliverables from the course itself? So I browsed the website of the university. I looked at the subjects I'm going to be offering, and then picked the ones that are tied to my key objective for the application. So these things should not be quite different from what you are going to be studying. So if you are into health, what aspect of health are you studying? You need to take out time to go and read through the website. UK universities are very good at giving details of the courses you're going to be offering, even down to the examinations, down to every information you need to know about that course. So it's something that you really need to make out time to go and do research, your own personal research on the university and the course you want to apply, so that from there you'll be able to coin your essays to actually explain what you want to study about. So it's very, very important. Then long-term goals as well. Do you want to continue in research? Do you want to continue working in that field? Or do you want to establish your own organization? These are your long-term goals in the next 5 years after your award. So in my own case, I indicated that I would like to work in the sector, contribute to environment and energy access in Nigeria, which is what I'm currently doing since I came back from the UK. So that's my long-term goal. Then I also indicated that's my goal after 5 years post award. Then I also indicated that I would like to set up my own organization around energy access. So those things you need to really think through it and draft your essay from that.
Yeah, thank you, Ginika.
Thank you.
Yeah, very inspiring story. Uh, and I think another thing that people should be mindful of is you don't have to see the full picture, or you don't have to know everything, but you have to understand what is realistic and what is achievable. And those are the kind of things, because you can't propose a solution that is non-realistic or not achievable. Even though some things might seem, it's not like we're saying aim low, but if you understand the kind of problem you want to solve, you should understand what is a practical and reasonable solution. And then that should also guide your career path. You should also be mindful that whoever is doing your essay are experts in your field. So there will be experts from your field reading through these things. And these people have been reviewing essays for years. And probably they know people that have done some of the things that you're proposing. So they know which ones are more realistic than the others, or which ones are more achievable than the others, or which ones are actually the right steps or in the right direction. So those things also play important roles. Yeah. So I've talked about volunteering, and I've mentioned that you should start looking into things like that. For the personal statement, personal statement is always a very, very intricate topic. So I won't delve into that right now. We've had some webinars before. We had one specific webinar before where we used an hour to talk about the personal statement. So I know if we go into that discussion now, it's going to be a very long one. So you can always visit our YouTube channel and look at the past recordings. But we're also going to have more sessions about Commonwealth scholarships and the essays in particular closer to the application period. So this is more or less us trying to help you to prepare in advance. Yeah. So I don't know how much time we have left, because we're almost at the hour mark. But I briefly want to just talk about the STAR approach so that people can begin to understand what it means and also begin to shape some of the opinions or draft some of the essays that they want to write. So if you've not seen what the Commonwealth application looks like before and you don't know the kind of essay questions that they ask, I would say Google is your best friend at this point because there are a lot of people have pushed out a lot of content on that. So they've done. There are people that have had videos on YouTube where they've talked about the different essays, different essay questions. But you should make use of that resource. Go through. Like I said, you can't predict whether anything is going to change, but more often than not, if there's going to be a change, it's not going to be a drastic change. So most of those things will always come back because some people applied 2, 3, 4 times before they got it. And after writing the first one, then you come back and write again. So when you have a lot of time to prepare, it seems to be very effective. So what does the STAR approach mean? Like you can see on the screen: situation, task, activity, result, lesson. So because of we don't have much time and I want us to be able to take questions from the audience, I'm going to say you should start dropping your questions. So I'm going to briefly run through this in the next 5 minutes, hopefully. And if there are questions, we will try to take them. If there are no questions, that means we'll call it a night, and then we might leave the Q&A for tomorrow as usual. Ejiro, we still have the Q&A tomorrow as usual, I guess.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, okay.
Same time.
Yeah. So the STAR approach: situation, task, action, result, lessons. So when you want to describe, when you're describing any of the essays, or when you're describing any of the answers to the essays that they ask you, people always want to say things that are practical. So if you're talking about a time when you've done something in the past, you don't need to just say, I taught 20 students mathematics. Or when you want to talk about a volunteer role, I volunteered as a tutor and taught 20 students mathematics in the secondary school. From that statement, you've not told us anything. You just told us that you've worked in a school. We don't know what you did. We don't know whether you actually taught the students. We don't know whether the students learned anything. We don't know if you were successful. We don't understand the challenges you faced while doing the teaching, whether there's anything spectacular that came out of it. So the STAR approach simply says you first of all start by painting the situation. What is the situation? Why did you have to teach students mathematics in the first place? If it was a volunteer role, why? Was there nobody else teaching? Was there lack of access, or were they having poor performances? What was the situation? Why did you need to step in? Then task simply means what needed to be done. So you've told them this is the situation. Students in this community had lack of education because there was not enough schools, or the schools didn't have facilities, or because they didn't have competent teachers. Situation. Task: you needed to start organizing weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, daily tutorials for these people in 6 hours or 2 hours, or what was the task, what needed to be done, why did you need to do these things. Then the activity simply means how did you do it. So you've said you needed to organize tutorials. Did you have a classroom? Did you have a whiteboard? Did you have a center? How did you reach the students? How did you get them together? How did the teaching go? How did you do the delivery? Was it virtual? Was it in person? Those details are what actually paint a holistic picture. And then results. So after teaching, what happened? Did the students' performance increase? Was there enlightenment in the community? Did they have a better results? Did they have better understanding of the concepts? Was there someone that went on from there to secure an admission in a school that nobody from that community has ever been able to secure because they've never been able to get a particular pass mark? Those are the kind of things that you need to bring to the forefront. Yeah. So I'm using a teaching example, but you understand this applies to every sphere. And then the last part, which is the lessons learned, because if you're going to be a change agent, you have to be able to reflect, understand why things are happening, understand how they're happening, understand where you made mistakes or where you met challenges, and things that you might have done differently, or things that you think might have helped your situation. So if there was something, maybe because you started teaching. The method you adopted was mass teaching. You bring everybody together in one big class, and then some people are understanding while other people are not understanding, because everyone doesn't learn at the same pace. But eventually, you learned that it was better to break them down into smaller groups based on their performance. So people that were strong performers, you have to put them in one group and maybe teach them for 1 hour. While those that were weaker performers, because they have a weaker background, you need to put them in a different group and teach them for maybe 2 to 3 hours, so that all of them can be on the same level. So those are lessons that you take away, and that teaches you that when you're teaching a group, a large group, you need to be peculiar to the situation of different people. So people may have learning disabilities and stuff like that. So when you talk about things like this and you bring them to the forefront, it paints a picture that you understand how impact should be made and how development can come into play. So I don't think we have any questions, but I don't know if any of the two speakers want to also come in to contribute to the STAR approach. I know that I've just tried to ramble through it, but if you want to add anything to it, we can also take that as well, because I know
I
we
think
all we all we all used it.
I think we have questions, but let the speaker just add to the STAR approach before we take the questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Who wants to go first? Ginika,
I
do you want
think
to go
you
first?
explained it quite well. You explained it
Yeah.
quite
It's been elaborately explained. Maybe I can maybe just add a little bit more to say. I think most times writing is usually not so. Especially when it comes to these types of essays, usually many people don't have an experience with this. Um, but maybe what the STAR method helps is to not just write abstract things, but you kind of write stuff in a well-ordered manner with some evidence. So I would say it structures writing in an evidenced best way. Mhm. So you don't just say, "Oh, I taught mathematics," but you kind of say the process, how you did the teaching, what was the outcome, where was this done, and what was the impact in general. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think we'll go to the question that we have. I think we have a question from Vanessa. Okay, looks like a long one. Hello, my name is Vanessa Silil Sililo.
Sililo.
Yeah, Sililo. Thank you, from Zambia. What is the time period considered for volunteer work? Is it 2 years? I just completed university last year, September, and started doing volunteer work in December. Is this period considered, or there's need for more years? Also, is volunteer work from high school considered, or maybe it's just university level and after? Hmm. Kangwa, do you want to start?
Interesting. uh, trying to figure out because I actually never did any voluntary work. Um, but it's good to hear that there are quite a number of people actually going into volunteering now after university. I don't think it's a matter of time frame per se, but I think what people want to see is that you are doing something and you are having an impact as well. I think, and also here people want to know also that you do not you are active. I think there was a word used before, active, not just somebody who's just because maybe they even if there's nothing happening, you want to push yourself out there to contribute in one way or another, and you're not just looking out for monetary what's gains, but you can put yourself out there to help others without necessarily receiving anything. And in a way, that also keeps you active and engaged in your society and your local communities as well. So that's necessarily what they're looking for. Not that it should be the length of time, but just that you are actively contributing to the community, in my view. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Ginika, now that we still have you, do you want to weigh in on the question, or is she still having technical issues? Oh, she's gone. Okay, so I'll just say I think you've said it perfectly well. I don't think it's about a time period. I mean, somebody can volunteer at an event that's just 1 week long that has a very massive impact.
Yeah.
Another person can volunteer in a role for a very long period of time because the impact you need to make requires you to do that work for a long period of time. But it doesn't really matter. I think when you bring the star approach into it, it's more about exactly what was the situation, what was the tasks, what did you do, what was the result.
Yeah.
If you can get results in a short period of time, within 2 weeks, within a month, you talk about the results you got, because some results, or sometimes you may not even have the opportunity to be with people to volunteer in a position for a long period of time. So there's no minimum or maximum time frame from volunteering. They just want to know exactly what you did. And I think it's also important for them to know what skills or what lessons or what experiences you got out
Yeah.
of doing
Yeah.
that work. So if it was in high school, I mean, if it was in high school and you did something that's very impactful, maybe even if you were the editor of the school newspaper, or or you were the leader of the debate club, you know, that's something to be proud of, because at that young age you were already putting yourself out there doing things. So it counts as a plus to know that from a young age you've been doing something like this, especially if that is directly linked to what you're pursuing now. So if for example you're trying to pursue being an advocate for a particular thing, and then you were a lead debater in high school, and you represented the school at different competitions or different debate tournaments or that different events, and now you are trying to be an advocate for something. I mean, that goes a long way to show that you've been in that field for a long time. So it's very, very relevant, if you ask me. So it doesn't you don't there's no barrier there. So yeah, that's from me.
Do you mind me? Let me add. So first of all, I want to say to you, Vanessa, congratulations for finishing university. It's not easy, so a big congratulations. But just to add, because I think her mentioning 2 years, I think she got that thought from somewhere, which you don't know. But for Commonwealth, it's not a matter of years. Now, let's be very safe here. Some scholarship have their criteria. For example, Chevney wants 2 years work experience.
Yeah.
So there might be some scholarship that want 2 years volunteering experience. So what I can tell you is, whatever you're applying for, go and check the criteria, know what they want from you. But for Commonwealth, there's nothing like the number of years. It's just what have you done. So like the speakers have said, so I don't want to keep repeating it, but they actually what they said is all good. So for Commonwealth, it's not about the years, it's about volunteering. But what I will tell you is this: I don't know what you're into, but please, it's good to get evidence of volunteering. So if you can ask them for reference letter, you might need it tomorrow. So when you finish volunteering, ask for reference letter or ask for certificate of volunteering, or just ask for something that you can use for any scholarship application, or possibly even a pictures. If you have pictures of certain things you've done while you're volunteering, um, yeah, so pictures, certificate, reference letter, just have an evidence. Even if they don't give, ask for it, they'll give you one. And they should not just give you, if they're giving you a reference letter, they should not give you a general reference letter saying Vanessa volunteered. No, Vanessa volunteered as what, doing what, achieved what. It should be more detailed so that can actually boost to make it more competitive. So I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, I think that's important, because I think there's a section in the application where they said if you have other supporting documents. So those are things you can always include there, just to drive home your point. Especially when you're applying for something like shared, where you don't have an interview, where you can't come to speak. So it's also good you have those documents or proof of evidence. Yeah. So did a question just pop into the chat? I think. Let's see. I think we just got a question. Yeah, thank you for this enlightenment. My question is, how many nominating agencies would someone need to nominate him or her in an application? I'm asking this question because in my country, Sierra Leone, the government is the most popular nominating agency that we know. In fact, a good number of us never knew that there were other agencies to nominate one. Okay. I will try to answer this question as best as possible. So I know that for the Commonwealth countries, I think every country's government is a nominating agency. That is a standard operating procedure. Now, in addition to the government of your country, there are other nominating agencies. For some countries, they have a list of universities that can be nominating agencies if you are working for them as a staff member. So if you're a lecturer in a university, sometimes your university can be a nominating agency instead of the government nominating agency. Then there are also NGOs or non-governmental organizations that nominate as well. I mentioned Fawe. I know there's Hali. There's a long list of them on the scholars on the CST website. I'll just say go to the website and check them out. Now, you need at least one nominating agency to nominate you. That's the way it is. I think that's the best way to describe it in simple English. You need at least one. If two nominating agencies nominate you, if three nominating agencies nominate you, if four nominating agencies nominate you, there's no problem. But you need at least somebody to nominate you for your application to move forward. Just like in the case of Shared, where the UK universities are the nominating agencies, if two universities or three universities nominate you, it's fine. The application goes through, and then at the end, they tell you to choose one that you want to finalize with. The same thing happens in the other case. So if, for example, you apply through your government and through, let's say, Hali network, and your government doesn't nominate you, but Hali nominates you, your application will still go through. If both of them nominate you, your application will still go through. The CSC on their own end will sort out the fine details of, because at the end, they don't really tell you who nominated you at the end of it. They just want to know that someone considers you a worthy candidate, and then your application moves forward. So, but the most important thing is always reference back to this CSC website and read the information there. There's a lot of information there, and I'm sure they update it every application cycle. So even the list of nominated agencies might also change. I don't know. I've not been to the website very recently because I'm not applying. But if you're an applicant, always check the website, always check the information there. Always try to update yourself on the recent things happening, especially when you are drawing close to the application window. Yeah. So I think that's my answer. I know the nominating agency thing can be a little bit confusing, but it's good that you now know that there are other nominating agencies. You just need to go to the CSC website. It's all listed there, and you can see all of them there if you check very well. Also check out all the eligibility criteria. Different nominating agencies have different eligibility criteria. The same way the nominating agency from your country will require you to be a citizen of the country to be eligible to be nominated. That's the same way other bodies also have their own eligibility criteria. Farway has the eligibility criteria of you have to be a woman, for example. So those are some of those things. So you need to check. Everybody has a reason why they are coming to nominate people. So if there's a nominating agency that's there for people with disabilities, and you're a person with disability, then you qualify. But if you're not a person with disability, you don't qualify for them to nominate you. So it's also good for you to also note down which of the nominating agencies you qualify for. That can, so you can now start to check what and what and what, or who and who you want to include as nominating agencies in your application. In the form, they will always ask you to choose. So it's always there. Yeah, I think I've tried to exhaust that question. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything.
Not really. I think it's quite well exhausted.
Yeah. So I think we've shot over the hour, and I don't think we have any more questions in the chat. Unless if we have any, Ejiro, you can just call my attention to it. But I think we've satisfied much. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And we've been having Ginika in and out with technical challenges. So it might just be that sign that it's time to call it a night. Yeah. So I will just close off by saying thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I think very, very helpful and enlightening questions we've had this evening. And I believe we've also done a very good introduction to the scholarship process. Like I said, down the line, we'll go into more details of the different things that make up the scholarship process itself, especially the essays, because I know that's where most people struggle. Though we have previous sessions about these details on the YouTube channel as well. So in the meantime, you could just go to the YouTube channel, scroll through the previous sessions. You would see the session on Commonwealth scholarship essays. It's there. I think we've had about 2 or 3 because that we hosted during the last application cycle, and they are all there on YouTube. So you can just go and harvest information from there, and then bring your questions, because it's always good when you know where to direct your questions when you've been fed the information. So while you're waiting for us to have other detailed sessions, you can also do that. Start preparing your questions. When we have the Q&A on Sundays, you can always bring your questions in. And from there, we can start dissecting it so that you can go back and also have other questions and come back again. And by the time the application window is open, all your questions, all your clarifications would have been set. And then we'll be able to, you'll be able to submit a wholesome application. I see a question just popped up on the screen as I was about to close. Okay.
So,
Quick one. For someone that applied last year but was not selected, can you paraphrase the essays you use, or you need to write completely new essays? You know, Ejiro, when you answer this type of questions, there's always that bit of caution when you're answering this type of questions.
Yeah.
Because
that's what Kangwa is saying. You got to balance it. Don't worry.
yeah.
You balance.
So
Balance.
so I always say, when you say paraphrase, when you say paraphrase, understand what paraphrase means. Paraphrase means you take something and you restructure it, or you rewrite it in a different way. If the essay didn't win you a scholarship last time, will paraphrasing it win you a scholarship this time around? That's that's a question mark you need to ask. Because if you're sure that the essay was very strong, but other factors is what limited you, then it's your content. You can always use it. But I would always say, this is my own personal experience because I applied twice. And after doing the first application, I took the essays, I grinded them down, and built them up again from scratch. It was saying this, it was trying to pass the same message, but the content was different, because I had understood that there are different things that need to come in. And also, where I was in my life during the second application is not where I was in my life during the first application. So there are other ingredients that needed to come in. There are some trainings I undertook after the first application to boost my profile, especially in that field. And all those things needed to come into the new application. So if you're worried about something like plagiarism, for example, I don't think that's really an issue if it is your essay. But I would always say, have a not completely new essay, but have a new essay. Write something fresh from scratch. I mean, you can write a new draft and look at your old essay and try to put 2 of them together and build something new, so that your chances are increased. I mean, that's what I would say in my own personal opinion. I think that's what worked for me. Yeah. So, Kangwa, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Not really. Yeah, on this one, I think I would say you can always upgrade the essays, because you are never given feedback really on exactly what went wrong with your essay afterwards. But what you can do is you can always try to see it from the other side. If you are the one grading your work, what do you think was wrong? It also helps to kind of have an introspective view of yourself and what you're bringing to the table. So once you've done that, it will help you as well invent your writing as well. Yeah, so you go through it. Don't go through it with a mind that is telling you that it's correct. So I just need to. I think here this is okay. Have a mind of if I'm the one who's reading this, is it making sense? Can I remove money to pay? Can I give somebody, how much is a scholarship per year for an MSc?
Oh God,
should
you
be
and
about
Francis.
50,000.
You and Francis can calculate finances.
So if you are able to look at your work and say, okay, I think I can give this person 50,000 pounds to do whatever they want to do with, then but if you can't, when you critically look at your work and you're like, I think it needs a little bit, then you will see how you can reinvent it. I remember having to apply twice as well for, I think, what was that? The similar scholarship, chevening. But the next time I had to do the same thing. Kind of, I was very sure what I'd written was making sense. But when I started taking an introspective view, critically analyzed myself, I was I took it like I'm a critic of what I was. I found that actually what I had initially written was really rubbish, but I was convinced when I was writing it that it was one of the best writings I'd ever done. And also giving it to other people to have a look at it. What do you think? But sometimes you'll be so surprised that other people will be looking at your work who also agree with this is good, but when you work on it and improve it, they will also come and say, no, this is better than that other one, you see. So you need to be careful that you may be at the same level of but when you work your work and see, you will be able to see there's a very big difference. There's a very, very big difference between the earlier work and the next work. But when you are not open-minded, you are just thinking that your work is okay, you will be fighting a losing battle. And I see many people have this aspect of I think they just didn't like me. They didn't like my work. They didn't. It's not really about what I presented. I think what I presented is good. I don't think people have got time really to like or hate you, because most times people don't even know you. So the idea is that have this mindset that I didn't present the best I could present. So once you have that, they start working backwards. Okay, how does this look? This sentence, critic every sentence. Is it bringing out the information I want? Thank you. Yep.
Can I? Thank you so much. Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So just imagine I think what's his name? I think Sunday. Just imagine that this phone you want to buy. Okay, I think you can see us on the phone, right? This is us. Yeah. So imagine this phone you want to make an investment. So maybe you wanted to buy the phone last year, but something happened, you couldn't buy the phone. Then next year you had the money, you want to buy the phone. Wouldn't you want to check if the phone is working and go through all this operating system and check? Will you just come and say, oh, because I checked the phone last year, I'll just come and pay for it? Won't you go through the phone again to check if everything's okay? So the same to the application. When you applied last year and didn't get it, this is a new year. Still do it as if it's a new investment, because each year it gets competitive. Each year people are coming with a more stronger position, a more higher up in their game. So if you think that because last year nothing changed and you don't do much, what you put in is what you get out. That's the truth. So invest in it. Like Kangwa said, when you go through your essay, you'll be so shocked that some things, well, this thing is okay, but it can be better. Just invest more time, then you get a better result. Like Kangwa, Francis, and all those people that love finances say, once one want to invest 50,000 pounds on you, check it very well. Like we Nigerians will say, check and not check it well. Do your work well. So
well.
Ginika, you're laughing. Check it well now. So yeah.
If I go through my essay for masters, I would like, so you mean Commonwealth actually awarded me with scholarship?
I'm even shy to look at my own. I'm shy. I cannot. I'm shy. I'm embarrassed.
It's actually very true. Even when you go back and read what you got the scholarship with, after some time, you're like, I think it still needs a lot of improvement.
Yeah. I think
I'm
I
like
remember
the ones who were reading it then thought otherwise.
yeah. I remember some time ago I wanted to give go to my city just to check something. And God, I was embarrassed reading it. I had to stop. I was like, God, did I write this? I'm not sure I was good enough at all. As I was questioning myself, because now I know way better.
Yeah.
So each year you
Yeah,
expect to improve. Sunday,
I think that's the major point. Thank
you're
God for
growing.
growth.
And which is good, because if I think it was good still, then I have not grown. The fact
Exactly.
I'm feeling is not good, that means that's what good does. So
Yeah.
sorry to say this Sunday, but if you feel that your essays should not be improved or say okay, then I think you need to check, are you growing? Because if you are growing, believe me, you have something to improve on that essay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the hammer on the nail's head. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's just the truth. If you look at work that you wrote when you were in primary school,
Mm.
you can't tell yourself it's still good. And then
Yeah.
you look at your secondary school work and you're like, we were young then, that's why they pardoned us.
Yeah.
And I think and I think it's the same with the scholarship. The people reading the essays, they understand that you've never had exposure to let's call it world class education, UK
Yes.
standard education. So they understand that your essay is not going to be spectacular, but they understand where to see the potential points coming out of it.
Yeah.
Which is probably what they
Yes.
say, okay, let's give this one a chance. And then that's how they pushed us forward.
I
But
think they just
after
see
you've
the Indomie.
The
Yeah.
what? What you say?
They just see the passion. They just read beyond the essay. They could see the passion and the hunger in you. I think that's
The hunger.
for the masters anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's true. I used to tell people you need to be charged up when you're writing those essays. You need to no, because you need to believe in what you're writing. If you're going to actually
Very
Yeah.
true.
no one else, you need to believe in what you're writing. That's why I said if you identify your problem and you read, you find that this is the best way to solve this problem, and you believe that, and you put it down on paper, whoever is reading it on the other side will also feel that belief in what you're writing. You're not just writing generic text.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Mhm.
though it might not be exactly the right way to do it, but they can see that you have an idea of the direction is good. Because I know if I read some of my essays now, some of the things I wrote there, I know some of them might not be very realistic, or you need to put caveats or conditions some places to make sure that
Yeah.
based on what I know now.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things. So it's really just even beyond the scholarship itself. When you answer those questions and you read those essays, like even for me now, sometimes I go back to read those essays just to have some introspection, to see where I was and where I'm coming from, where I'm going to, and try to understand maybe the next steps of what I should be doing based on those things that I've written down. You try to follow the story, and it's one of the good things about writing those essays anyway. It makes you think a lot about what exactly you want to do with your life, and why exactly you want to do a master's. Which is why I'm happy that Ejiro has put on the screen before that we have our program on 23rd. It's
Oh.
PhD for you.
I'm looking for it. Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah,
It's going to pop up. Yeah, so let me just use this opportunity to advertise this program. So on the 23rd of March, we're going to be talking about this topic. Is PhD for you? Because yeah, you see, someone, you see, when you say this, someone do a PhD will always laugh.
Me, I'm not laughing. I'm smiling.
You only realize that sometimes when you actually start realizing, or you start asking that question when you are, I think, a year or two into your PhD. That question is a few months into your PhD, you are hit with what do they call that syndrome?
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You're like, do these people really know? I think they gave the wrong person.
So my person we used to cry. I think I cried. I cried. Like, who sent me message? Am I sure I should do this thing? I cried. A lot of us cried. A lot of us cried. So
Yeah. You
yeah, but it
see,
was fun.
I remember, I think I was in a meeting. So I think this lady should have been from Nigeria. She was in her 4th year. She was supposed to be having a Viva. So the supervisor is asking, I think one of the head of the Viva is asking, so how are you? Can you tell I've just joined. We're doing online learning then. So I give him. Then she's just like, I don't think I'm I'm ready to give anyone advice. you know, it's a good way to actually have these discussions. It kind of prepares people's minds prior to getting into a PhD. Because many things really, I think when I had the first the issue of imposter syndrome, I remember thinking, this is not really for me. I remember having these lectures at the beginning of my PhD. I was like, this is really, it's just for, there are others, not me. But when I started having you start having that same imposter syndrome, then you're like, I thought this was it's just a theory somewhere, some people talking about it. Yeah, but it's something it's surmountable. You get to a place where you're comfortable, you know what you're doing, and but you go through these things. Yeah, this is a good way actually of having these discussions even prior to getting into a PhD, and people can share their experiences, and you can gauge yourself properly to say, is it really something I want? Is it sometimes there's a lot of course there's a prestige aspect attached to this, but at the end of the day, you really need to make a right decision, really, and see what works for you. But
Yeah,
informed, at least.
yeah. I think that's the most important thing, that you know what you're getting into. You
Yeah.
understand exactly what you're getting into. I mean, you can
Yeah.
never understand 100%, but the more
Yeah.
informed you are, the better prepared you are. Yeah. So we're having that session on 23rd. We have another session on 16th, which is preparing for graduate school in the United States. I think we've done a lot of sessions about things happening in the UK, Europe. So we want to branch into the United States. So I think we're going to be having a
You
grad
professor?
student, a professor, and
I'm
a
a professor.
grad student from the United States. So they're going to give us both the lecturer and the student perspective of how to come into the graduate school in the United States, which is going to be a very, very rich session. I mean, so yeah, so just stay tuned. That's next Saturday. Then the Saturday following that, we're going to have the PhD for you. So the PhD students are going to come and tell us the things that they've seen and they've gone through in the journey, the things they wish they knew before they started, the things they've learned about the PhD while on it. And even those that are finished might also be there to tell us things that they finally found out at the end. So it's going to be a rich session. Ejiro, you want to come in?
Yeah, the thing is that just on the light hand note, you will not know everything. No matter what, you cannot know everything. I mean, Kangwa, what do you think? Can you know everything? Because just
No,
can
it's
you know
it's
everything?
I think the more you move up in terms of these hierarchical learning systems, the more you start realizing there's still a lot more to learn. And I think maybe the whole aspect of a PhD as well, it opens your mind to be more flexible to understanding that you don't know something, but you have the tools to investigate how to get to know the stuff. I think many people tend to think like it's it's a is it is the ultimate goal of knowledge, but I think it just makes your mind flexible. It's just makes your mind more moldable, more open to getting new ideas and seeing how you can work with the available information. Really.
Yeah, I see Julius is on the screen.
As I was about to talk to you,
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
yeah,
You know,
PhD student
Julius is always an advocate of be prepared before you start a PhD.
for PhD. So you join us. Hi,
this
Julius. We can
this
see you.
this yeah. So Julius always tell you this is what's going on. Better know that this is what you're
Yeah,
getting into. He always
yeah.
says that. He always understand. It's not heaven on earth. So
Yeah,
he's a
that's
strong
why
advocate.
that's
He's
why
a
we,
strong
we
advocate
usually
for
have
that. So it's
meetings
good
with
to.
Julius.
You
We
know
have
him
very
too?
good meetings, regular meetings where we
Oh,
have these discussions of the
hi,
impact of
Julius.
PhDs on our day-to-day lives. We usually host it in the pub somewhere in our university.
Please come and host for us. Julius, so come and speak for us. Please, PhD, we want to hear you. Come. Leave the pub. Come to the webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
So just for the audience, so just know that we have a good timetable of power pack sessions this month, and we'll always love to have you with us. Come and enjoy the discussion. It's really, when we talk about these things, they become more realistic, they become more relatable, and it's always good that you understand the dynamics of all these things. So yeah, so like I said, we usually have a topic on Saturday and we have the Q&A on Sunday to follow it. So the reason, I think the reason for this structure, what helps most is for people that may not be able to join the live on Saturday but maybe watch the recording and then have questions, they can always bring them in on Sunday. So yeah, or whenever you have a question, you can always pop into the Sunday session and we'll take your question up from there. So mark these dates down on your calendars. Same time as this one. Tomorrow we have the Q&A. So yeah, so that's it. I think we've lost Ginika to technical difficulties along the way. So but special shout out to her. I think she was a very, very integral part of the discussion that we had today. So thank you. Thank you, our listeners. I think we've been here for an hour, 30 minutes plus now, and we're going to call it night. So as usual, I think we've spoken a lot, so we've given them a lot of parting words. I don't need to go around to have parting words anymore. So all I'm going to say is take the information you've gotten from this session away, go and begin to do the work. Yeah, there's no substitute for actually doing the work. You have to actually do the work. Go to the websites, read, read again, make
It's
notes, come
AI.
back, read. Yeah, even AI can do the work for you. You still need to know how to use AI to tell AI what to do. Yeah, so there's no substitute for actually doing the work. There are tools to help, but there are no substitutes to doing the work. Yeah. So on this note, I'll say good night, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from or when you're listening to this recording. And have a wonderful day ahead. And we hope to see you in our next session. So thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.